Hi, Harvey.
Hello, Robert. How you doing?
Doing all right, bud. How you doing?
Not too bad. That's interesting. Oh, that's why I can only hear you out of one ear. My hearing aid wasn't turned on. Now I got to wait for it to wake up.
Guys, I'm gonna mute myself while I eat some dinner real quick.
Okay.
Eat in good health.
Just a bit of which breeds that which is the silent that was a big one.
So I've spent this last week on jury duty. My lock interaction has been limited to looking at all the hardware from the building that was built in 1976 and has basically stayed there.
Wow.
It's all mortise locks with knobs, unless it's something that's been replaced. I got pictures of one door that has no hardware, that has a mortise lock, no scalp, no levers, no knob, like it's just gone. It goes to the police record and warrant room. There's an electric strike, but I don't know if they ever close it. It's when the city and the county are together.
Uh-huh.
The county owns the building and they lease part of it to the city of Cleveland, as their police headquarters.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
So
It's
Jeff,
run
did
down.
Were you on the jury duty?
Oh, yeah. If I wasn't, I'd be done 2 days ago. So they've changed it. You used to have to go for a whole week, whether they called you on a case or not. And now they call you. We got on a case. Well, first we got called up and then they pled guilty. So we didn't have to do it. So we went back to the room, got called up the next day or afternoon, whatever. And I've been on a case for 3 days. So, but there are some people that were in the room for 2 days. And if you don't get called, you get to go home after that. You used to have to go, every single day and just sit there.
I remember those. It's been a long time since I've had to do it, and I was only on one case one time 30 years ago. I forget what it was even at this point, but
Well, yeah, somebody on my panel, they asked everybody, have you been on a jury before? And they said, yeah, in 1979. So it's changed a little. I was on in like 2009.
I think I was called twice since then, and I went, but the
Yeah.
case either settled before court or whatever it wasn't needed.
I've been on 4 of them and I was the jury foreman on 1.
Oh, yeah, we haven't gotten to that yet, but it's gotten, I don't know.
And then I received a jury notification, let's see, latter part of last year. And I sent in an excuse saying I'm too old to attend.
Right. Well, here, if you served in the last 2 years, you don't have to. Or if you're above certain age, or if you have a doctor write you a note or whatever.
Hang them.
Right. So I have been checking ClearStar, but other than that, and I've heard from the shop a little bit, but I'm out of the loop.
Yeah, there's one. There's 2 in there actually.
My understanding is if the place is built before ADA existed, it can stay that way as long as, if they put a new door in, it has to have levers, but the rest of it doesn't have to.
Grandfathered in.
Yeah. I don't know how they get they haven't made, well, they might still make some of the stuff, but I don't know who did the hardware,
Who's inspecting the fire doors?
Well, it's interesting you say that. So I'll get a picture tomorrow, but like the doors in most of the rooms, so they're like 7 or 8 foot doors. They have 4 hinges. They're wood, but they have a label on them. It says this is identical to a door with a 20-minute fire rating, but because of the construction or otherwise, it's not certified. So I don't know. This is on the 23rd floor, but I think most of them are that way. I'll have to get a picture because I don't know a lot about fire doors.
It is my understanding now that across the country, all fire doors are supposed to be inspected annually.
Yeah, but I don't know that these are actually fire doors.
Well, if they're in a building like that, theoretically, they should be fire doors.
Yeah.
But then again, the city and the county can make up their own theories.
Exactly. We're the AHJ, so. Robert, I'm impressed. You guys even have a banner.
I got that made. Thinking about using it for the trade show.
Mhm.
I also got a table banner too.
So you guys are doing a trade show?
Not we, IML,
Oh, got it.
the trade show in Kansas City is in,
Oh, so you'll have a booth.
yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm trying to make a slideshow of everything that we've done this past year,
Mhm.
and mainly the Dormer Thomas safe class.
It's kind of cool. They have the Cleveland Police Museum and they have an old jail cell and stuff in there. I got to see
Uh-huh.
that. It's pretty with, the old lock and everything. I didn't ask them if they had a key, but
You need to go into it and shut the cell door?
no.
Should have asked them if they wanted you to make one.
Oh, actually, I think my buddy does have one of the locks on his wall from the old, probably from their old jail.
I thought the meeting was supposed to start at 6:30.
Oh, the BS session starts now.
Okay,
When you said eating good health, that reminded me of my grandfather.
I'm glad
Es que
glad
sin querer.
memories,
Yeah,
glad memories.
he just passed away in August, but yeah.
Well, if he said that, then he probably said it just a little differently.
Well,
Like,
it was in Yiddish, but you
yeah,
know,
Essen gesundheit.
yeah, he would when his sister was still alive, you know, the very, you know, when they wanted to talk to each other and they didn't want anybody else to know what they were saying, they would talk on the phone in Yiddish.
That's exactly what my folks did when they didn't want me
Yeah.
or my sister to understand what they were saying. So I got even with them. I learned
Yeah.
Spanish.
Well, he also knew Italian because when he was in the army, he was overseas. So whenever, you know, we would go to the barber, our barber was from Sicily. So they'd be talking, you know, and eventually I learned, you know, some words, nothing
Here and
bad.
there.
But yeah. Yeah, they'd be singing in Italian. If you asked him, you know, if he took his pills an hour ago, he wouldn't remember, but something from, you know, 70
Yeah.
years ago.
The short-term memory goes and the long-term
Yep.
memory stays.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Brooklyn, raised
Okay.
in the San Fernando Valley, California,
Okay.
from the age of 3.
Oh, wow.
And then my grandparents moved out so they could live next to us.
So I know somebody who did that. He moved across the street from his daughter and son-in-law and grandkid.
There are people that do that. I got a cousin whose son's wife's parents moved from Southern California to Denver so they could all be in the family together.
Oh, wow. Well, this wasn't quite that far. This was, you know, another suburb, but yeah.
Yes.
So I'm sure you've heard the line, I'm not from New York, I'm from Brooklyn.
Of course. There are so many lines like that.
Yep.
And I'm going to retire to the Bahamas in my pajamas. Except I'm in Tucson.
Yeah. Actually, my buddy Gordon is manager of the IDN in Tucson.
Oh,
He's only been there maybe like for the past year. But I think he's Tucson. Yeah, he lives in Oro Valley.
yeah, that's just north
Yeah,
of Tucson.
yeah.
And my wife and I, when we realized we couldn't stay in Henderson, Nevada because our rent kept going up and it was going to get the following year we would have had to move. So she spent 3 days on the internet looking for a new house. She found a deal here in Tucson. So we moved here, bought the house, moved here, and then 9 months later she passed.
Yeah.
So I'm here by myself.
My other grandmother, she lived in Vegas her and her significant other lived in Vegas for like 8 years.
Uh-huh.
When he passed away, she moved back here, but she lived till she was in her mid 90s. It was, you know, I'm like 10 years old and we would go to Vegas, you know, spring break or whatever. And it, you know, it was still,
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot a 10-year-old can do.
no. I mean, you can walk through places and not look at it, you know, and not stop. But there were
Yes.
museums and we would, you know, went to the mall and all kinds, you know, this was, you know, over 20 years ago. Pretty close, 15, no.
I remember I had just turned 18 and my folks decided they were going to fly on the Hacienda Express to Vegas. And I didn't want to go. And they said, well, in Vegas, the drinking age is 18. I said, well, then, okay. So I got on the plane. I'm the first seat behind on the right-hand side of the plane. And the hostess is coming around with champagne for everybody. And she gives me a glass. And just so happens to be the pilot looks back and he calls the stewardess over and he said he had her check my ID. And she says, how old are you? I said, I'm 18. She says, you're not old enough. I was PO'd from that point on.
Yeah, when I went to Israel, the drinking age was also 18. They gave us beer on the plane. I'm assuming it was when we were out of, I don't know how
Out
that
of
worked.
US territory, yes,
Right.
open water.
In the, yeah, because we flew from New York, so,
Yeah, that was, once you were in international waters,
yeah,
it was legal.
yeah.
That's one place I always wanted to go, but with my sore muscles,
Yeah,
that's no longer, I wanted to go to Masada.
yeah, especially being on the plane for what, 11, 12 hours.
Well, that in itself doesn't bother me as long as you get a chance to get up and walk around a
Yeah,
little bit here and there.
yeah.
There was a story about a priest and a rabbi on a plane going to Israel.
Mhm.
I don't know if you heard it. You probably did,
Probably, but
but I'll tell it anyway, 'cause for the other fellows who are listening. The priest, the rabbi is sitting on the plane while they're boarding, and a priest comes and sits up next to him. And the plane, they close the door, the plane takes off, they're in the air. The priest looks at the rabbi and he says to the rabbi, "Rabbi, so tell me, have you ever had ham?" And the rabbi says, "Yeah, well, before I graduated high school, I was with a friend and I went over to his house and his mother made ham sandwiches. So I had a ham sandwich." And a couple minutes later, the rabbi looks at the priest and says, "So tell me, Father, have you ever indulged in the pleasures of the flesh?" And the priest says to the rabbi, "Yeah, come to think of it, when I was still in high school, before I decided to go into the priesthood, yeah, I had a girlfriend and I had enjoyed the pleasures of the flesh." And they go back to reading their Bibles. A couple moments later, the rabbi says, "Sure beats a ham sandwich."
yeah, I've heard that one. Better than the pork, huh? Same joke, different.
Yes,
tone. Yes. Those things are timeless.
yes.
It's funny you talk about a ham sandwich because that's the jury will indict a ham sandwich if that's what they're told to do.
Of course. Well, let them indict the ham sandwich. I'll have a BLT instead.
Yeah. So I forget, you worked for some like aerospace company, or you were in,
Not anymore. I've been retired since
No, I
2006.
I said worked.
Oh, yes, Lockheed Martin.
So you did all their,
Yeah, I was one of 5 or 6 locksmiths. We did all their safes, the GSA containers,
Mhm.
the S&G padlocks,
best, I'm
re-
sure.
the Schlage carbon wrestling interchangeable
Mhm.
core, master key systems,
Okay.
unit locks,
Yeah.
simplex locks, electronic access. I did it all.
Wow. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I got to the point where I was so good with unit locks, everybody handed them to me. We had the unit locks with the master ring.
I have a couple. We did a job and it was, the guy looked, it was a school and he's, oh yeah, rekey them. It's not that bad. Well, then he realized that they were classroom function and it added like a week to the job because of all getting those apart. My college still had a fair amount of unit locks, but they had retrofitted most of the outside knobs to take a best cores because most of the system is best now. So
Right.
they put new knobs without having, anytime they replace a door, they put a lever and, whatever.
Right.
But where they could retrofit them, they did. And there's still some Corbin out. at the university, but not much. When the one guy retires soon, I don't know, you know. The
Way
one guy,
back, way
yeah.
back when I first hired into, or should I say, rehired back into Lockheed, into the lock shop, that was in 1986. I saw that they were using a master key system that Corbin Russwin had printed for them. The company paid like $4,000 for a master key system.
And
And at
was
the
it all,
time,
yeah,
and at the time, I was just starting out writing my software. So I convinced the company to buy my master key system, and I was able to replicate the master key system that they had with growth. And instead of paying them paying 4,000, they paid their 350, and they were thrilled.
were they all deep cuts like most Corbin?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, the master was deep cuts, and it was rotating constant.
Yeah, they loved all those. We have a few apartment systems that are all deep cuts like that. The only good thing is that all the master pins come out, you know, when you take it
Yes.
apart. But
That's true.
it's a terrible system.
Yeah, I got to the point where I got tired of using the lab kit and the Corbin kit because it was a real pain in the derriere. I made up my own kit. I just set it up
Sure.
and ordered the pins separate and created a kit, and then everybody was using that kit. Problem is with Corbin, they don't use a #1 master pin.
Well, System 70 does.
No, it doesn't, and not originally, not according to the original System 70. But
Okay.
that eliminated an awful lot of change keys.
Mhm.
So the systems that I set up for them, we were able to use that, or the #1 master pins, and we got so many more systems out of it.
Right, because now it's single step.
Right.
You guys are, we can't hear you in Michigan. Calvin, we don't hear you.
Wi-Fi like they did the last time.
Okay, now it's good.
You guys hear me now?
Yeah,
Am I loud and clear?
You're
Okay.
allowed.
Well, it's 80 degrees here in Michigan, so we're really excited. This is like summertime, guys. 80 degrees, I'll take it. So we're going to call the meeting in order. At this time, let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the
United States of America.
Republic.
To the republic for which it stands,
One nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. We're going to call the meeting in order. For those who don't know me, my name is Kelvin Heath. I've been president since January, so it's been a little bit of adjustment.
We lost your audio.
Nope, we don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a couple of meetings in the building, so we may be having some technical difficulties, but hopefully we resolve that. So if you guys can hear me, that's good. So we're going to jump right into the meeting. So as far as the treasurer's report, there is officially $5,983.61 in the account right now. And that's the official count. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report? All right, so moved and seconded. All in favor? All right, no opposed. So also, I just want to announce that Meredith is no longer going to be our secretary. She is stepping down, so we will need a new secretary and a new vice president. So that's going to be coming up over the next couple of months. So hopefully we'll get somebody to help out. Also, is there any membership committee reports at this time? I don't know if is Bill online? Not sure if Bill is online. If not, we'll just move on to the next thing. All right. Trying to see if there's something else I need to go over before. John, you have anything from as far as the membership or anything of that nature? Okay, no problem. No problem. It's been a busy week for a lot of us. We're going to have Banner come up. We do have Banner, a representative for Banner, Stephen McLemore. We're going to have him come up at this time. I know there's a lot of questions and comments, concerns concerning Banner. You know, they have been merged with, I believe, a couple other companies, but he'll explain in detail, and you can ask questions concerning Banner. I know there's been a lot of discussions online about Banner, good, bad, ugly. So we're going to talk about it. So at this time, let's receive Stephen McLemore. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Kelvin. Thank you.
All righty. How's everybody doing? Good. Can you guys hear me in TV land?
Yep.
We're great. Cool. Like Kelvin said, my name is Stephen McLemore. I'm with Banner Solutions. Real quick, my background, I've been in the industry coming up on 7 years this July. Got to start with an online company called Go Keyless out of the Dayton, Ohio branch. I'm still, every time I say Ohio, he does something. I am from Ohio, from Miamisburg, born and raised. I'm a HO Flake legacy, so I'm sure you guys know Banner, the name, whatnot. We're different companies. So just by a raise of hands, who bought from HL Flake? Okay. Hey Wayne, what's up, man? All right, who bought from Akron Hardware? Same, okay. And lastly, Midwest Wholesale. Okay, you in the middle. Okay, perfect. So majority of you all have bought from HL Flake and Akron Hardware. That's where majority of your guys' business come from. With that being said, I like to call it the plastic surgery period, that banner we went through. With acquiring HL Flake, we had transition with the website, different account logins, shipping issues. We had a lot of growing pains that come with anything when you're buying up different companies, different acquisitions or whatnot. That was then. Currently, I handle the northern half of America. I live in Ohio. I have Kentucky all the way across. So I literally have from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. Yeah, so I'm home a lot. That being said, we're putting a focus on the locksmith group. I'm from HL Flake. My counterpart's Alex Martinez. His name may sound familiar to you guys. He was the old sales manager at HL Flake. He's my counterpart. He covers the southern half. Us at Banner, we kind of made the realization with the acquisition. Contract hardware distributors, they buy a lot different than locksmiths. Locksmiths, we buy different than, building material services when it comes to SKUs, product, everything. Higher ups at Banner, we kind of realized that with the acquisition. So now we've kind of addressed some of those problems with the website, transitional orders, strategically placing things throughout the country to where we can serve your purpose to get product to you all. Now I would say we're through that plastic surgery side. I would like to say that we're now the pretty girl that you can look at it across the bar. You can see the bad history or whatnot, but I think that we're ready to rock now. Lots of the things that, the main issues that I've heard, again, I travel the country and I'm probably not gonna hear much here today that I haven't heard when it comes to bad news. You guys can try. A lot of the main things with the accounting issues, duplicate orders, back orders being shipped, not shipped, some of the website difficulties, things like that. I think that we've come through some of those. So I will leave my information actually it's on the email. You guys can reach out to me directly. We're making a change on Monday, which one of the problems that we will address with the acquisition. If you bought from HL Flake and you called in to somebody from Akron that has no idea what automotive is, and you get that person, it's going to be an awkward phone call. But we're going back to kind of give that small company feel to the customer. We will have a category for commercial. We will have a category for residential. And for you all, we will have a category for locksmith. So that change, and supposed to you all, I heard that. With that change with you all, you're not going to get somebody that doesn't really know your lingo. You're not going to need a part number exactly to get that. You're going to have lots of our old employees from HL Flake that are in that queue that are going to be logged in and ready to go. That's one of the bigger changes that we're making. We're going to have more go-to people. It's going to be about 9. We're going to try and get everybody to have about 3 people. That way, if somebody's sick, somebody comes to Michigan, they get the flu, whatever. So that's some of the changes and things that we've made at Banner. That's really enough about me. I will go ahead and answer any questions, concerns that you all have for us with Banner and what I can do for you. There we go. Hand.
So I'm seeing something that the minimum on free freight has gone from 200 to 250 to 750. And they set me up with $100 free freight because Flake gave me free shipping to compensate for all the mistakes that they were making with orders and stuff. So I still see it's 100, but on your website, the freight policy says 750, which seems very high.
Okay, so that's a good question. Thank you for that. What was your name?
Jeff.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Good question. We are going through a freight minimum change literally as we speak. Everybody has different freight minimums. That's kind of what we're kind of combing through with the different companies, just how everybody had a different price. If you bought from Flake, it was this. If you bought from Akron, it was this. So we're kind of coming through those, and we're trying to make it a not necessarily a straight across the board, but we're putting people into categories based on their buy. That being said, our minimum, I think for most locksmiths with the HL Flake, it was $100, which is probably the lowest in the industry. We had to raise that at some point. We were getting ready to raise that at HL Flake, just with all of the problems and all of that, we would be stupid to do that. We were, so that way we're kind of doing it now. The minimum now will be $200 with online orders. The $700, I have no idea where that came from, but I think that was going to our glass and glazing customers.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the website. If you go to Banner Solutions, Resources, Freight Policy, that's what it says.
Gotcha. Well, what I can do is I'll just get you a copy of what your freight policy should be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
Director.
curious because I mean, my work buys, and then, the handling fee, no matter what. And I've heard of people getting separate packages and they say that they want everything to come from one place. And then they get hit with multiple handling fees for something that they didn't request.
Okay. There aren't multiple handling fees per order. That's not the case at all. There's one handling fee per order, whether that order comes from multiple locations from Anaheim, Washington, Florida, Charlotte. There's no multiple handling fees. That's not the case.
Okay.
With something like that, you do want that. Everybody's different. Everybody runs their operations different, but we can kind of separate the two. So if you personally would like your order to ship complete, we can do that. The company standard, kind of everybody's different. We have people that are set up both. The company, I would say the industry standard, what I kind of realize is if we have it, you want it shipped immediately. So if we have it in PA, we'll ship it. 3 pieces are coming from PA, 4 pieces are coming from California. We'll get those to you. So that way you can get the 7 as quickly as possible. If you do want it to come, there's a check mark on the website that you can do ship complete, or you could send me an email and I can have that changed to you.
Got it. So that was my question, is that you can
Yep.
mark it ship complete.
Yep. We can request that. All I have to do is you tell me which way you'd like it and we can make that change.
And these are not, I'm just curious, I'm in Ohio also. Don Holman takes good care of us. But I had my own account from Flake and I don't buy much anymore, but like I said, there were some issues. So they said, well, we'll give you free freight, because we messed up. And I understand having to raise that. So yeah.
Well, so I mean, and like I said, it's not, I get it, but again, I would say our average order from locksmiths, I think that when we did the thing, it was like $330. I get it. It's one of those things we are looking to, we're being more aggressive with pricing, different things to kind of combat that, that handling charge that you have mentioned. So, some people haven't logged back in. I guess kind of the message here is if you have not, I would certainly try to log in. If you don't know how to log in, reach out to me directly. I can get you logged in, check out our pricing. I can also send to John an updated freight agreement. Like I said, everybody's will be different based on your spend.
Thank you.
So handling fee shipping, next up.
What is your email address?
My email address is Steven with a V, STEVEN .MCLEMORE @bannersolutions.com. If we
One
were
more
fancy,
time,
like the
please.
Joe Rogan podcast, it would pop up like right here, but we don't have that. What was that?
Stephen, MC what?
MCLEMORE. It should be in the newsletter. MCLEMORE. Perfect. @bannersolutions.com.
Super. I need to send you an email about some software.
Perfect. We
That's-
have also the last part with that being software, you're referring to electronic access control.
No, I'm referring to master key systems that Banner used to sell, that HL Flake used to sell for me.
Got you. I just had a conversation about this with Gary Harley the other day. Yeah, send me an email and I can get with you on that.
bannersolutions.com.
Yes, I travel a lot, so I'm gonna step back before I say that I am gonna be your contact person. If you have a question about pricing, availability, I probably wouldn't call me. Like I told you, I cover from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. We have an inside sales team that are in front of the computer that can look up quotes, pricing, availability, where it's shipping from, all of that jazz. Hey, I need you to be $10 cheaper. They can do that. I would say look at me as more of the quarterback. If you have a problem with an RMA, the issues and concerns that you all are seeing, hey man, I need this, I want this to be shipped complete. I don't want to come from the California location because it's messed up. Whatever situation, anything that's bigger like that, I would reach out to me directly. If it's a quote, quantity, anything besides pricing and availability, reach out to me directly. Opening accounts, you can reach out to me directly. It's a very, very, very simple process. We can do it online now. Previously, we didn't have that capability before. On the website, you had to print it, fill it in, do all of that stuff. We have a fillable PDF that's online because we don't sell to your end user. We're not your competition at all, so we do not sell to the end user. So we don't open up an account with just anybody. What you'll do is you go to the website, you'll fill out your name, company name, address. That'll then send it to our accounting team, our onboarding staff. We'll check, do all of that stuff, get you an ID number, log in. It takes 24 hours for your pricing to be uploaded. And after that, if you're logged into the website, everything in our inventory is correct, up to date to every 15 minutes. Up to 15 minutes is key. That is when the bus stop is dropped off. It's every 15 minutes. I had a guy that needed 2 Hess strikes. I told him that we had him. He went, it was 13 minutes, ordered them. Somebody else had ordered them and we didn't have them. So I was then told that it is 15 minutes when the bus stop comes for inventory on the website.
That's a lot better than than it was.
Yeah.
Because that was a problem that, you know, you place it based on, maybe some of that was time zone issues and.
Correct. Time zone issues, different warehouses, different everything. That was lots of different back end stuff that they don't pay me to know, but it's, you know, that location can't talk to that location. Now we figured out how to make that location happen. So it's real time with that one and that one.
Right.
So everything on the update.
Most of the
website.
locations don't a lot of those don't exist anymore. So.
Correct. Our current location that'll probably really matter to you all will be our Elizabethtown, PA, our Kansas City location, Charlotte and Dallas will probably have most of your locksmith materials when it comes to that. But if there's anything that's volume, and that's another reason, if you guys want to reach out to me directly, if you know that, you know, you're buying whatever, 10 Von Duprin panic bars a month from us, you would order them from us, but we have them in California. Let me know if it's something like that. Hey man, you know, maybe I'll buy those for you if you keep them closer. Those are the conversations that I'm out having with people. That way we can strategically place things to help better serve you guys so you can better serve your customers.
So as far as shipping, does it depend on the product as far as time? Let's say if I order a couple of access control panic bars or something like that. I mean, is it a certain time frame that you guys are working with? It just depends on the product.
If we have it in stock, each location's different. So I don't want to tell you that if you order this product from our Dallas warehouse before 1 o'clock, it's gonna go out. I would like to tell you that, but I can't tell you that. If you order it from us, we have it at the location. If it's at the location before, I would say noon, just to be generous. If you order it, we have it at the location before noon, it's gonna ship out that day. Doesn't matter whether it's a key blank or a control system or a low swing operator.
So pretty much when you order, they'll let you know the shipping time, or how does that work?
On the website, once you click, it'll tell you if we have it in stock or if it's out of stock. Something that we did just add to the website is a back order option. That has been a kind of a hot topic for locksmiths, because if you have an order for something that you need next day, we don't have it, you probably don't want it. Some people do, some people don't. We still ship it, but now we have it to where you can tell us to not ship it. Time, could you give Steven? Yep. Any other questions? Sure. Oh, we have different value addeds, and it also depends on specifics. Don't really want to go into competitors. Doc, who's that? Oh, that's Josh. Oh, Josh went blank. Thanks, Josh. No, you're fine. It's not your fault. I don't want to go into what other people do bad or whatnot. I would say number one at the list, we don't sell to your customers. We don't sell to your end users. When it comes to some jobs, colleges, hospitals, whatnot, you can send out a quote and you no longer have that, and a distributor may have sold that. We don't do that. We take pride in not selling to our end users. Things that we do better, we know that technology is growing, so we've kind of we've put into our access control team for knowledge. We have a full access control team. It's 4 guys. They reside all across the country. We're able to provide walkthroughs. If you send over a door schedule, they can give you an option for a good, better, best option, whether it comes to anything from a gym, a facility, computers, or a community center like we have here, or anything. Those guys, that's all that they speak. I know that it scares some locksmiths when it comes to electronics, but if it does, we have a team that'll do that. We have warehouses all across the country. Like I said, our pricing availability is good. And once you log into our website and you see our pricing, I think that's something that you'll be impressed with.
Do you offer any training at your locations or on site or anything? About this? Wayne, he probably does some of your seminars.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a loaded question. Wayne does do a lot of our seminars for us at our trade shows. We have our own trade show, and we do booths at other trade shows. When it comes to training, I could set something up if there's a specific product with our Legion partners or ASAB or Kaba, whoever. I can take time, get with them, have them actually come to your shop and give you a demonstration, as opposed to me BSing my way through a project, because I know that it holds 300 users and I know that it works on a cylindrical door. So with something like that, that would be something. I know at HL Flake, we did used to do more locksmith training. We've gotten away from that, but it's not something that's necessarily going to go away for forever. We're just not doing it at the moment. But any training that you need on any product with that, reach out and I can get your local manufacturer rep to set something up with that. Does that answer your question for things that we do different? Anybody else? Cool. That's all that I wanted, guys. Again, I would look at us like a plastic surgery. We're ready to date. Thank you. Thank you.
Again, we just want to thank Stephen for coming out and taking the darts, you know. I think he answered it very well. By the way, you probably should be a radio personality. You got a good radio voice. So at this time, we're going to have IDN Keith. Is it, I don't want to mess up your last name. Is it Landstromer? Landstromer. Keith Landstromer is going to come up from IDN and kind of talk about what they're doing or anything that's coming up.
Hey, hey, Steve. Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everybody. And my name's Keith Lance Groner. I'm a sales, I'm just got into sales recently, 3 months ago. Account manager recently. So I'm new to all this stuff, but the thing is that we got a bunch of promotions going on, and I'm here to help. I'm here to learn, and you know, they just throwing me out to the wolves more or less. But yeah, it's I don't know what to say really. Oh, right now, like what's going on is like they just acquired a new building, which was the old building that I was working at. I was the warehouse manager. And what happened was is that Joel and what was it, Ken, the president at IDN, approached me and asked me what I was going to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And long story short, they offered me the position to join their sales team. And essentially it was a 2-for-1 deal. They got me with the building. So what's happening is that IDN is currently in the process of closing out their what is it, the Plymouth Road location in Livonia. It's all gonna be in Livonia, but it'll be on Industrial Road, not Plymouth. And yeah, it's being transferred over to the building that they recently acquired. Yeah, so they acquired, what happened was, I was working for the company next to the hardware sales division, and they picked up the building right next to it. So I had two options. I can either go with the company to Illinois or shut down that facility. And I did that, and they took care of me. The company took care of me. And on top of that, Joel and Ken, the president, offered me a position in sales. So that's how they got me. So they got the building right next to the hardware. And what's going on is that they're transferring everything from Plymouth Road over to Industrial Road. So it's all be a one-stop shop. Right now, it's two separate buildings right next to each other, but they're going to have new construction and combined it. So it'll be one big building. It'll be a one-stop shop. So we can handle all of your needs, the doors, the hardware, you know, under one roof. So there's that. That's pretty much what's really going on right now, and everything's happening real fast too. So, what else? Is there any questions? Good.
My question as far as your background, how long have you been with IBM?
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so warehouse manager for Intact, which is a anchoring company. So essentially metal screws that go into the ground to support foundations. So if you want to like build like wherever, you know, like Ford Motor Company, you need a, you know, a big foundation to support machinery that, you know, that's operating. You need to support that. If you want to have, say, you know, a house on side of a mountain, you need to be able to support that. And it's anchors that go into the ground. So, and there's a lot of engineering behind that as well. So what happened was is that they picked me up with them. So.
Any other questions for Steve?
Oh, thank you. We're good.
That wasn't that
You know,
hard.
I did both too. I do so, thank you.
You did good. He looks a little nervous, but he was okay. I like to know about the industrial screws, man. That sounds pretty interesting though, as far as something to secure those heavy foundations. Yeah. So did you actually do the drilling work and all that kind of stuff, or you were? Okay, got you. Okay, good. Okay, cool. Okay. Well, before we go to some of our online viewers, I wanted to bring your attention to the newsletter. So by show of hands, how many people read the newsletter this month? Okay, okay, that's about 5. And 3 online. So I want to bring your attention to the article I wrote. It's called Safety Guidelines for Evictions and Vacant Homes. I actually wrote that, yeah. So I wrote that because I go to a lot of properties where they're either vacant or there's an eviction going on. And I tell anybody, when you're in those situations, be on high alert because you never know what's going to go on. Now, it's funny that I wrote this article because I had an eviction and a vacant home I went to. Well, I thought it was a vacant home. I'll tell you about the backstory of that. So generally what I do when someone calls me about a vacant home or eviction properties, I always ask, where's your paperwork? Because I want to make sure that that's the person, unless I've had a history with dealing with them before. In other words, if I had an investor that bought a lot of property and he's got a ton of property, I know him. So after asking for the paperwork, the next thing you want to do is scope the neighborhood. In other words, drive around the block, see what's going on, get a feel for the neighborhood. Next thing you want to do, of course, is knock on the door, see if there's any movement, see if anything is going on. I say that to say, I had a customer, very good customer of mine, call me for a property in Romulus. For those that don't know Romulus, in Romulus, Michigan, is out there near the airport. So I'm in Midtown Detroit. That's a good 30-minute drive on a good day. Bad day, you're probably looking at an hour. So customer called me, or the client called me, he said, I have a vacant property out in Romulus. I said, okay, Romulus is pretty good. I don't think there's gonna be any problem. But of course, I always carry my gun with me, just in case. So I'm knocking on the door, locksmith, I'm here to change the locks, no movement. I'm asking a few neighbors, but we haven't seen anybody over there. And so I pull out my leashy, there's a Defiant entry lock on the door, no deadbolt, 4 clicks, well, 5 clicks, click, 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 and I'm in less than 2 minutes. And sure enough, as soon as I open the door, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, wait a minute, no one's supposed to be here. And so there's a lady upstairs saying, I'm taking care of business. I didn't know what that meant. I know that meant she worked from home, or whether she was on the toilet, I don't know. But anyway, I yelled and I said, I'm here for the investor. We have the paperwork saying you're not supposed to be here. And so she just basically said, I don't know what happened. I never got the communication. So immediately I closed the door and tell him, contact the property manager. So I immediately called him because he was supposed to be on his way. I beat him there. He was on his way. I told him, hey, this lady has not left the property. So you want to make sure that you communicate with her that she's supposed to leave. You can call me later. And I charged him accordingly. And then he asked me, is there going to be another charge about to come back? Of course it is. Because I got to go all the way from Midtown to come back here. But I say that to say, even though you take all these steps that I talked about, going around the neighborhood, figuring out the feel for the neighborhood, seeing if there's any broken windows, any open property, that kind of thing, you can still run against some crazy stuff. Now, of course, like I said, I carry my gun. I have my gun on my hand as I had leash in one hand, gun in the other hand, and I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm knocking on the door, no answer, nothing. But there was someone in the house, and like I said, I'm not the police, I'm not the bailiff. And I tell my investors, I'm not the police, I'm not the bailiff. It's your responsibility. Because really, they should have did their due diligence to make sure before I got out there that that property was vacant. But I had to do their job, and I charged them accordingly. So I say all that to say that evictions, vacant property, land bank property, I don't know what you guys call it in your town, but a lot of times investors buy property in the city and they buy a lot of property, and some of it's vacant, some of it's not. So you have to be very alert. A lot of guys don't like doing this work, but it pays very well. But I always tell them, be on high alert and always look, pay attention, stay calm, stay cool. Don't get your hair ruffled. Yes, you have a question. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
They told us it was, actually, we got a lot of risk. I gained entry, and the customer came in and he started exploring another part of the house. I'm moving the lots. And all of a sudden, there's a huge argument. And I'm very, very uncomfortable. This guy comes out, he is raging mad, and he would have been well within his rights to shoot me. Because I was entering his home. He was sleeping. And if I saw somebody coming into my home sneaking in, I'd shoot. Pretty much afraid. If I recognized him, he'd shot.
Yeah.
And I was, yeah, I was really mad. And what would happen is the customer deceived us. The customer was telling us lies. And the police were called. I stopped immediately what I was doing. I walked away until the authority had a jurisdiction got there. It's It's not worth your life, it's not worth your reputation, it's not worth a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
Just walk away.
Yeah, so Aaron made a good point. For those who didn't hear him online, sometimes you have to walk away from these situations because it's just not worth it. It's not worth your reputation. It's not worth your life. You want to go home. I always tell my wife, I'm coming home. Whatever I need to do to come home safely, that's what I'm gonna try to do. So sometimes, we get in these situations where we may need the money, but it's not worth it, guys. I mean, one other thing I wanted to mention is that I've been in the homes where you walk in the front door, there is no floor. Imagine that. And I found out that these houses with no floors were former drug houses where you would actually walk in, and if there was a police raid, the police would run in and they would fall to the basement, literally fall to the basement because there was no floor. So I say that to say, when you're going into these homes, you open up these doors, always look down. Don't just step in after you open the door. Look down, look up, look around, listen, be on high alert, because these things they can go south real quick. I've been in situations where, well, I'll tell you, this was out of Inkster, Michigan, for those who don't know Inkster. So this was probably 20 years ago. It was an eviction, first eviction ever. I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that the bailiffs were there and they had 4 of the guys about to unload this house. And so I'm sitting there and we hear dogs barking. I mean, I'm the one to pick the locks open. I said, wait a minute, I think there's some dogs here. So as soon as I heard the dogs barking, I closed the door immediately. I said, you guys need to call the Humane Society. They called the Humane Society. They waited for about an hour. And unfortunately, the Humane Society didn't show up. And so they say, the bailiff said, we got a job to do. They went in and they just start shooting. And it was 2 pit bulls in the house. As soon as they opened the door, the pit bulls launched at them and they shot the pit bulls. I said, I didn't do another eviction for about 3 years after that. I was shaking up. I was like, this is crazy. So I said it to say, you never really know. Always listen when you go into these homes. And sometimes, like you said, if you don't feel right, either call someone for backup or walk away. Because a lot of you guys may have never experienced these things, but you may get a call one day and somebody says, hey, I just bought certain property. Because I get calls from all over the world. I mean, I get calls from China, this guy's from Israel, this guy's from Bangladesh, and they bought property in the city. And they have local people that manage this stuff. So they say, hey, they usually pay the bill through PayPal or Zelle or Cash App, whatever. But they normally have local people that handle the rest of it, where you have to give them a physical key, or you have to give them a code. But I say that to say, many times the guys that are buying these properties have no idea what's going on. They're in another country. They have all they know is that I bought this property, it was cheap, and I'm going to flip it and make money off of it. But they have no idea what the landscape is in the city. And I tell all my investors, I said, you better have a good furnace guy, you better have a good plumber, because normally the furnace is gone, the copper pipes are gone, anything of any value is gone. So I just let people wear that. So any other questions concerning vacant properties? Like I said, I've been doing this almost 30 years now. I don't get that many of them, but when I get them, I'm always on high alert. And sometimes I've just walked away, or I don't even take the call if they're not answering the right questions. You have the paperwork? No. Okay. Where's the paperwork? You know, I'm asking, where's it at? What time of day? Because I don't do any of this stuff late at night. It's all daytime hours. If anybody calls me late at night, it's not even worth it to me as far as evictions and vacant properties, because most of the times they're boarded up. It's very dark, as you know, those kind of situations. But I said to say, not every situation is like that. Sometimes things are very clean cut. You just go in there, you open the door, you change the locks, and you walk away. You get your money. But there are situations where you really have to be on high alert, and sometimes it can be in the best areas. I mean, you just have to be very alert. And I always said, try to make sure that somebody's there with you to take pictures and things like that. And I always said, always have your phone with you. Take before and after pictures. When you walk in there, hey, when I left the house, there was a furnace there. Now, I don't know if there's gonna be one when I get back, but there was a furnace there when I came. Here's a picture of it. Take pictures of everything. Take pictures of the locks. Because many times you're dealing with investors, they have a bottom line. Well, how much is it for 4 doors? Where are the locks working? So you can go into a property where there are no locks. So, and I always tell people when you're doing evictions or vacant properties, just replace the locks. Don't try to rekey them. Don't sit there fumbling with pins. Just replace them. Charge the customer accordingly. Don't even fumble with it, because your objective is to get in and get out. So, any other questions, concerns? You can ask me anything about vacant properties, or I mean, I've got a lot of experience with it, and I got a pretty good method. I'm still here, so I guess it's working.
You normally work with the law enforcement agency. Like here, I guess my particular situation is a little different. My wife actually works for the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
But normally, even if that's not the case, we would have, but before that happened, I would work with the sheriff's department before she was in that position, and we would actually meet and have a meeting, and we would build a game plan. Okay, here's what's going to happen, you know, at the beginning. Here's what's going to happen next. Here's what's going to happen after that. And I would kind of, you know, just kind of ask a couple questions. Are these people violent? You know, do they have a history? What exactly are we walking into here? And then, you know, we would kind of have a game plan as we walk up into it. All right, I'm going to get the door unlocked. I'm just going to turn it, make sure that it's unlocked, and then I'm going to get out of the way. And then you guys do your thing. They go in, they clear the house, make sure that everything's safe. And then we'll go through and start, you know, itemizing which doors need to be rekeyed and which ones, you know, have keys, bedroom, stuff like that. And then we'll swap all the hardware out and do everything they need to do. But that was just kind of a pattern that we would do. And I found that preventative maintenance plan sure did come in handy. I remember one thing, we actually had, we had gates. We had like 4 gates to get through, and that was not expected. So we had to jump out, cut locks to gates, jump back in. It kind of disrupted the plan a little bit. But is that something you do as well?
Yeah, so I know you don't live in Michigan, but there was a sheriff of Wayne County, because I do a lot of work in Wayne County. His name was Benny Napoleon. I knew him personally. I've been over to his house, and anytime I had a situation, I would just call him, and he just sent a deputy out. I don't have that relationship now, but I am getting to know the new sheriff, and they are available, but not always. So most of the times, if I feel like it's really a dangerous situation, either I'll take someone that they kind of watch my back in law enforcement or a security company, because I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of police officers that are friends of mine. A lot of them go to my church, so I never have a problem having backup. But most of the times I do that if I feel like there's a serious danger. Sometimes you can walk in the neighborhood, everybody's pretty much knows everybody. Because my plan when I go into neighborhoods, I always ask, have you seen anybody in this property over the last couple of weeks or month? So I do a lot of neighborhood interaction, and sometimes you have to be careful even with that, because some of the guys in the neighborhood may be the guys that's part of the how should I say it? Part of the network of the neighborhood, drug dealers, in other words, or spies or lookouts, that kind of thing. So you have to really kind of have a discernment on who you need to talk to. Most of the time, there's the older lady in the neighborhood who's been there 30 years. And every time you go down there, she's pulling the blinds back, looking to see where you're going, that kind of thing. So law enforcement is very important, but unfortunately, in certain areas of the city, they're not always available. But I do also go to the police community relations meetings in my local area. And I have a lot of these guys on speed dial, so I do have a lot of access to that. And that's always very helpful, because usually when they see a police officer show up, either they're gonna get out the house real quick or something goes down. But yeah, I can tell you some stories. I think when you interviewed me, I shared a few of the stories with you about, there was a guy at the attic one time. It was a huge house, historical house, probably 7 bedrooms, 5,000 square feet, a mansion of a house. And I called myself looking through the whole house. It was me and my son. He was on the first floor, I was on the second floor. There's like 6 floors in this house. And all of a sudden we're working on this house and this guy just comes out the attic and just looks at us like, it looked like he was higher than a kite, and just walks out the door. I said, from this point on, I am checking the whole house. I'm checking attics, I'm checking closet doors, I'm banging on stuff. So I always tell people, the bigger the house, the bigger the risk. Always those huge homes, you want to make sure that you talk to the neighbors. Most of the time they'll know, but unfortunately we live in this age now where nobody knows anybody anymore. Everybody's in their own little silos, and when something happens, they say, well, I didn't know Johnny had 7,000 guns in the house. Well, Johnny kept buying guns and he was shooting in the backyard. Did anybody hear this stuff? So you really have to kind of go with your gut sometimes. But I agree with you. Law enforcement is very important. I have a high respect for law enforcement officers. I don't know how they do it from day to day, because some areas and just their job alone can be very dangerous in itself.
I
Any other
guess,
questions?
I guess maybe what I was getting at there is maybe there's some different laws. The sheriff's department is the only one that can do an eviction legally here.
Yes,
Therefore,
that's true. Same here.
the owner cannot do it. So therefore, the only time we can show up is with the sheriff's department. At that time, that's when we build our plan, and that's when we execute the eviction or whatever it is that we're doing, or search warrant, whatever it is.
Yeah, so as far as evictions, I was kind of trying to distinguish evictions and vacant properties. So with the vacant properties, that's when I kind of involve law enforcement. If I feel like there's a danger or something goes down, or somebody just all of a sudden shows up while I'm doing the work. As far as evictions, there's always usually a bailiff, the sheriff's department, they're usually involved in that. So it's always some officer on site while you're doing the job. It's usually never a situation in an eviction where you're going there by yourself. Does that clarify it? Wayne, are you still there?
Yeah, no, that,
Okay.
yes, I understand. Yeah, sorry, the space bar thing was muted. But yeah, no, just making sure that you're doing everything and doing it above board. I mean, we get calls all the time. Hey, we need to come do this eviction. Well, because of the information that I have, and we work so closely with them, you can't do that. You can't just have somebody call and say, hey, they haven't paid their rent in a month, I'm kicking them out. It's like, no,
Yeah.
that you actually can't do that. So
Yeah.
knowing what your laws and stuff are could be pretty beneficial, and maybe reading up on that. Heck, maybe that might inspire article number 2, is understanding your eviction laws in your area. Might be some good information for some of these guys out there.
That's an excellent point, Wayne. Excellent point. You're right. You have to know the law, because this stuff can come back to bite you. That's why I take a lot of pictures, ask a lot of questions. I make sure the paperwork's on up and up. And if it's not, if I get this feeling that something's not right, like Aaron was saying, walk away from this stuff, man. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Any other questions, concerns, comments? We're talking about vacant properties, evicting properties, how to go about doing this kind of stuff. Anybody else want to share any experiences? I see we have Rich over here. Okay, so I'll kind of give you a background. So we've been talking about how we approach evicted properties and vacant properties, land bank properties, investment properties, where I've never dealt with the probate situations. Yes, that's a very good point. Most of the times I've dealt with situations where it's been through probate and it's pretty much clear to a person who's like the advisor slash the person over the probate or over the will, or the family spokesperson, that kind of thing. It's usually past that. Gotcha. Yes. Well, I did have a situation when that was actually the donut shop on 7 Mile and Woodward. I don't know if you guys remember that. They had been in business for like 70-something years. And the son-in-law called me. He showed me the paperwork. He said, my father-in-law has passed away. I'm the executor over this. He called me up. He actually got my number through Find a Locksmith, which I was kind of surprised because that was one of the few calls that actually called me to Find a Locksmith. So I was able to open the door up, change all the locks, and he sold it. I think it might be still for sale, but the business was there for almost 70 years. It was a donut shop, and he had the right to actually go in there. So I asked for a lot of paperwork, and if it doesn't look right, I'll either have somebody look at it, like a police officer or somebody in the law industry. If it doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right. But most of the times, it's legit for the most part, especially if you kind of know the area, you know the people that work there, that kind of thing. But yeah, probate is a whole different animal. That can be very sticky because, you know, I hate to say it, but when people die, the whole family goes crazy, and especially if they have money. Oh, that's Mama's house. No, that's Uncle Joe's house. He promised me this. Where's the paperwork? Everybody promised them something, and then they start grabbing stuff, and you're like, hey, what happened to that piece over there? Well, that heirloom over there, that ring, that was Mama's ring. So people just go nuts. And usually you get caught in the middle of it. And a lot of times I'll just say, hey, you guys get it straightened out, call me. That kind of thing. Any other questions, concerns, comments? All right. Well, we're going to open the floor to our online viewers. If you guys have something to share. I know Harvey, you always have something. Wayne, you have something. Jeff, Robert, if you guys want to jump in, you don't have to say it at the same time, but if you got something you want to share.
So Pola is having a fire door coring. Well, Tom DeMont and Intertech are having the class, and Pola will be attending. And Tom is letting any of the members who want to audit the class. You won't get certified on coring the doors, but we get the great food at Tom's, as well as a key machine museum. And then we're doing a swap meet before the meeting, so this is the weekend of Saturday and Sunday, the 20th and 21st up in Finleyville, Pennsylvania. So that should be interesting. And like I said, I've been on jury duty all week. So the only thing I've done with locks this week has been to cry at the deplorable condition of the Justice Center in downtown Cleveland, where everything was built in and remains in approximately 1976. So that's it.
Okay, and if Stephen is still in the audience there, Stephen, I am Rabbit Soft. I write and sell master key software that I've been doing since the late 70s. HL Flake originally was selling my software for me, and then for some unknown reason, it faded away. And then my number one tech person from HL Flake retired, and he's no longer with them, and then again faded away. And now Banner is the owner, and I tried contacting Banner, and I never got a response back from anybody at Banner about my software, the fact that I also teach master keying. I have a 2-day class that I teach, which includes how to key cylinders without stacking chambers, how to cross key them. So if you can call me, hopefully we'll work out something so that Banner can have an additional product add on to their product line for master key systems.
Harvey, Stephen has left, but I will make sure he gets your information.
Super.
Okay. Yep. Sean, he already forwarded to him, so we're on it.
Super. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
I've got some cool new products. If anybody wants to check them out.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. Who here has had to rekey a profile cylinder? Yeah. Have you ran into ones that do not have the little caps on them or serviceable screws?
Yes.
I have something for you. All right, so this is going to be our profile cylinder. We can service this one from the top, but if you could not, if that was all sealed off, then you would need this tool here. So we're just going to show and demonstrate how this works. I'll put it into
Hey, Wayne,
the
you got to share your screen.
cradle. What?
Your
We
screen
don't
share is
see
not
it.
on.
Screen share is not on?
We hear you, but we don't see anything.
Oh, no. All right, let's try this again. That's really bizarre. How do I get back to the it said screen share enabled. Can you check permissions and make sure that I'm logged in correctly? Let's try this. All right. Screen share there and there. How about now?
We got
you-
it. We can see it.
Now?
Success.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Let's go back from the beginning. All right, so this is going to be our profile cylinder. We can service this one from the top, but if you could not, if that was all sealed off, then you would need this tool here. So we're just going to show and demonstrate how this works. I'll put it into the cradle after we pop this clip off and manage not to stab yourself in the finger, hopefully. Carefully prying the retaining clip from the profile cylinder is going to be one of the first steps after you have it secured in the cradle. So then we're going to have to actually insert the screw into the side. So then you can fully seat the screw into the profile cylinder. It uses the threads of the cylinder, not the cradle. Then we're gonna have to actually pick the lock because we need to get this wire in the bottom of the keyhole, and the keyhole needs to be turned around here because this is going to pretend to be your follower. That's the whole point of the wires. It goes in and it actually holds the top pins where they need to stay. Using your leashy tools is a great way to pick this lock. Usually picks fairly easily. Sometimes there can be spool pins or security pins in there. So you'll need to use those techniques in order to do that. And here's what it looks like. The wire is the follower. Then we can now rekey the cylinder as normal. And I'm just gonna put the pins back in it. Since this is for demonstration purposes only, we're just gonna put the pins that came out of the cylinder back into it. You can see how the wire keeps the pins in the top of the cylinder or the Bible in place while we do this process. So now you know why, even if you pick these, you still can't unlock them. Because you're not, the tip of the key engages with that to actually engage the lobe. All right, so one thing to keep in mind is that you're going to have to center this piece here with the piece in the back. So you're going to have to manipulate it and turn it just a little bit till it catches properly. Nice.
Now, the reason why that one shot out on me was because I didn't have pressure pushing back on this spring.
Yep. There it goes. Click. Nice. See it now. What do we see? Now you can see the advantages of the cradle and how it holds the wire in place and how the screw holds it into the cradle, aligning everything properly. We know there's different sizes of profile cylinders. However, this is a general one. Voila. Beautiful. We have it. Yep. All right, so I've never seen anything rekeyed like that before. But you can run into those sometimes. Those top caps, sometimes you have that plastic piece that's in there and you just know if it's a cold day or it's really old and dry and brittle and you try and pull that out of there, it's just going to disintegrate. So that could be one way that why you would want to use this technique instead of the conventional way. There's a couple bypasses around that too. Screen spline is a really cool tip. If you've never tried screen spline, it works great. Go pick up some of that rubberized screen spline from your hardware store that they use to put the screens in windows. If you chop a little piece of that off and tuck it into the profile cylinder where that top little plastic clip goes, that opens up that void to all the pins, it works great to hold that back in. But there are some cylinders that are not serviceable that from the top, they're just pressed in. This works great for that and allows you to do it. Storm doors, you see that really common on storm doors. They're just a sealed little unit. And I thought it was pretty cool. So for more
So
information,
you obviously have to have it picked or have a key.
yes, you have to have it picked or have a key. You can have a key, but you have to file off the bottom of the key so that you can turn it around and stick the wire in.
Sort of like on the Almond.
Right, yeah.
Because I have a tool here that I don't even know where it is. Somebody 3D printed some plastic thing that will hold the top up, but again, you gotta have it open and it's kind of a pain.
Yeah, and just so people know, the alternative to this would be having like little tiny half-inch by half-inch, like half-inch round by half-inch thick plugs to where you would pull that lobe out and then feed your plugs in piece by piece. Have to shove 5 or 6 of them in
Yeah,
there.
and then this is the top pin thing that somebody gave me, and I've never exactly figured out how it works, but it does have a wire there to hold it.
Yep. That's
So-
probably for some of those storm doors too, those little half
Yeah.
locks. But yeah, just I thought it was really cool, really unique design, different take on things. And so I figured I'd share that with the group today. If you haven't seen that before, or you see profile cylinders, now you know that there's a way that you can service them. Even if it has the screws on top, sometimes they're seized, stripped, just so messed up you can't even get them out of there. So, and they're not cheap. Those profile cylinders are, I think our cost, they're like $40 or $50, so. That's what I've got for you. If you want more, I can find more, but if you've got other people that want to present, go ahead and do so.
That's good stuff, Wayne. Good stuff. A lot of us walk away from because sometimes the customer doesn't want to pay that extra money to have that done. But that's a good idea. I just actually ran into a profile cylinder the other day, and the Allen screws were corroded. So I put some penetrating oil. I was finally able to get it loose, but it was a bear trying to get those things out of there. So that's a very good tool. Now, where do you get that tool from?
That was the video there. Actually, John Nolan, who was in the group here, Reliance Security Support, he actually makes it. He prints it off. I'm sure he could put it in the chat box. If anybody, I'll put my email in there. If you want, just shoot me an email and let me know.
Okay.
Since you mentioned stripped screws on the top, let me give you one little tip. Torx head. If you can't get it with an Allen head,
Okay.
I have found that you take a Torx and you tap it and hit it in there with a hammer a little bit, just
Okay.
one that'll just barely fit, and then actually attach that. There's one more step, attach that to your little mini impact driver. It'll pull that
Okay.
stuff out of there. It'll be the last time it comes out of there, but it'll bring it out one last time.
Cool. Well, the question I have for those that are in business now, how has business been? Is it slow, busy? Let's talk about it. Anybody want to share online or here? How has business been? What is the bulk of your business? What do you see the trend? Because everybody says we're in this recession. Maybe some people are, maybe some people aren't. The government's talking about shutting down, not running out of money. What's the feedback, guys?
This is good.
Anybody want to share?
Too much. Still too busy.
Anybody else? Well, Rich, I know you've got a couple of businesses you got going on now. Okay. So
What was the question?
So the question was, how has business been when they're saying we're close to a recession and people are running out of money and all this kind of stuff? I mean, I know we've been busy. We do a lot of doors, a lot of
We've been very busy.
Okay. What's the bulk of your business?
Commercial. So we don't
Okay.
do a ton of what's it called? We don't do a ton of residential, like the lockouts and the vacants and we just we try not to do those if we can, you know. But commercial service and having good accounts and you're the only one they call, usually, usually, it helps,
So is it mostly repair work that you're doing, or is it more or less
Both.
new work, or?
both.
Okay. Cool.
And
Anybody else?
we did a school job. We were subcontracted from the access or a fire alarm access control company. We were at a school for like a month installing panic bars and, we didn't even have to go find that work.
Cool. I see Aaron has his hand up. You want to come on up and share some things, or? Or you want to bring the mic to you?
I purposely price myself out of a lot of cheapy residential or lockout calls. For a standard lockout, my rates are, if I'm available, this is only if I'm available, a standard lockout from 10 a.m. up to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday is $150, $156 for the card. That's if you want me to open your door and get you into your car or your house, and that's all I'm doing. I'm not rekeying anything. I'm showing up, gaining access, pay me. I'm leaving. If it's 2 hours before, 2 hours after that, I tack on $50. If it's any other time, we start at $250. That's a lot of money, people say. Yes, it is. And I do it purposely. I've been doing this over 20 years now for myself, and I value my time. I value other people's time. And I don't want to put anybody over a barrel. I do want to be of service, but if I don't value my time at a certain rate, that kind of makes you hurt, makes you sphincter pucker a little bit. You're not going to respect my time. You're not going to respect me. You're not going to respect my desire to sleep at night. It's important to me to sleep at night. I still answer my phone. I'm a sole proprietor. I don't have employees for me. I answer my phone at 3 a.m. when it rings. I am Johnny on the spot with an arrow in the butt. It's a value that I bring to my business that I think adds a lot of value to my bottom line. NSPs call me because they know I pick up my phone at 2 a.m. or 11 p.m. on the weekend or whenever. And it's going to be expensive, but I'm available if they can get me. I'm always honest with people. And so I purposely don't, well, $150 just to get in my door. Yes. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Actually, Sunday's going to be $250, guys. Sorry. But I purposely price myself out of that. If there are other people that are hungrier than I am, that are, have employees they need to keep busy, they can have that stuff. I'm fine with that. I don't want to get a call at 2 a.m. where somebody thinking I'm going to come out there for $75 to open their door. It's not even worth my getting out of bed. The liability alone, the chance I'm taking at 2 a.m. Why would I do that? No, it's going to cost you a bunch of money. Guys, you need to value your time. You need to be safe. And I'm plenty busy. I have enough money to keep myself going at a very nice clip. I'm not putting anybody over a barrel. Everybody knows how much things cost from me ahead of time because I'm honest with people. And I'm not trying to do anything improper. I'm just telling people, look, here's how much life costs. If you don't like that cost, you can call somebody else. There's lots of other people to call. But I know I get a lot of business because I can be there at X time, in this amount of time, I'm available or I'm not. I will be honest with people. That's what gets me money. I'm not cheap. I will never be cheap. Anyone here, if you're telling people I'm the cheap guy to call me, no, I'm not the cheap guy. I'm the guy that will charge more, but I will be honest with them and I will give them the real deal. And yeah, it'll cost more money, but I'm busy. I'm plenty busy doing what I'm doing, and I'm happy.
Anybody else want to share any experiences as far as what you're doing or what's working for you or those kind of things? Anybody online? If not, I'm gonna call Rich up here because I'm putting him on the spot because he said he's doing 3 locksmith businesses he's acquired. So Rich, come on down. Tell us about this how you juggle this. So for those who don't know Rich, he just purchased a couple of locksmith companies that went out of business. And okay, I'll let him explain it.
What do you want to know about?
I want to know how you do it.
How I do it? Well, yeah, yeah, I started my own business in 2010, and then 2017, I bought Epstein's, and then I just bought Aaron's. So, I think the thing is like Aaron, I didn't start out charging people a bunch of money. I started the lowest, cheapest. I think I did lockouts for $45 when I started. Yeah, yeah. But eventually word gets out that you're the cheap guy in town and they will always call you back and you get busier and busier. And then eventually you get busy enough, you start raising your prices to where you stay busy, but not too busy, I think is the trick. So, and then the thing when I just bought it, I bought Epstein's because they had a shop. I never had a shop. I used to feel bad. People go, I need an extra key. I go, I got to charge your service call to come out. They go, okay. They didn't know where else to go. But I liked having a shop. And then I got employees to help me run the shop. So that was no big deal. But with Aaron's, he mostly did commercial. So now, instead of being night times and weekends, we're just banker's hours, 9 to 5. So that's, then I was able to pull people off the road at night and on the weekends, and then we just consolidate all our time Monday through Friday, which I think everybody likes better.
So tell us about how you manage the employees. That's the important part. How do you deal with the employees? Because everybody I talk to saying they're having a hard time getting employees, training employees, finding employees, keeping them motivated, keeping them from not being on their phone all the time, coming to work high, that kind of thing. So tell us how you manage your employees.
Well, my dad's one of my employees, so he's usually not too high when he's working. So, yeah, I wait for people to come to me to say, hey, I want to be a locksmith. Everybody wants to be a locksmith when you make them a $200 car key. They go, hey, how to be a lot, you know what I mean? But I remember when I wanted to be a lot, I actually went to Aaron's. This is the first place I worked at. And I was like, what do I got to do? And he's like, you can come work here. I think you need to find somebody who actually wants to do it, that isn't asking how much money can I make, that is something that they actually have a passion about and they're interested in it, as opposed to how much you paying me. So I think because, the first, you're going to be an apprentice riding with me for a while. I can't pay you that much, sitting in the truck, just watching me do stuff. So, they got to get through that first, 6 months to a year before they can actually start making money and doing stuff. So it's hard because me personally, I wait for people to come to me that I see that have interest in it. A passion for it is where, some people, they have to put out ads for people. And then, then you go, well, why don't you have a job? Why were you a locksmith somewhere else and now you want to be here? So, that's always questionable. So, but yeah, it's hard, I wish I had more people, but you just deal with what you got. And, sometimes you're like, I'm booked out till next Thursday, and that's, it is what it is. So
tell me a little bit about the interview process. How do you interview guys? What kind of questions you ask? What are you looking for? That kind of thing.
So I look for mechanical ability or like electrical ability, like if they like past jobs, where they have customer service jobs where they can deal with customers, like even, were they a waiter at some point? Waiters multitask and they're very nice to people, even though they're super stressed out. It's an important aspect to have, in my opinion, of what we do. They have to have mechanical ability
You know, like, can they work on their car? Are they totally clueless and don't know how to do anything? You know, like, do they have a sound system that they put in their car? You know what I mean? That's 12-volt basic wiring that we do for electric strikes. You know what I mean? You have to see how all the things that they know how to do converts over to, even though they don't realize it does. So you kind of got to get an idea of just, you know, just talking to them, you know, do they have a basic concept or are they going to be totally lost? You know, I had one guy come in, I think he was a security guard, and he was like, hey, I thought about being a lock, you know, you get a lot of people retiring and they're like, oh, I always thought it was cool. I want to maybe try it. But then you talk to them and they just have no clue about anything mechanical. They don't know how to fix anything. They always hire it out. That's not your guy. You know, they can't do it for themselves. How are they gonna, you know, how are they gonna do it for me? So that's the most important thing, is just the problem solving. I think that any skilled trade can go to any other skilled trade. Whether I'm fixing a furnace or a car or a lock, it's just this thing makes this thing work and makes this thing work. So.
Anybody else have a question?
Yeah.
Anybody else have any more questions?
No?
Looking for a job?
Me?
Thanks, Rich. I appreciate that advice. You know, one of the things I always do, and I have my son and my son-in-law working with me now, I always try to figure out if they have any patience. And I'll tell anybody, if you don't have patience, never become a locksmith, because it's going to be a job you're going through, but it's going to be very frustrating. You're going to go home, take a shower, have to get up the next day and probably deal with that same situation. But when they don't have patience, I tell them, go have a couple of kids first, and then then talk to me. But yeah, locksmithing is a industry. What I find, you have to be a problem solver. You have to figure out, sometimes you don't have the right tool. You have to figure out, what tool can I improvise to make this work until you can afford the right tool. I remember times where all I had was a pick set. I didn't have leashy. I didn't have other things. So I had to become proficient at picking locks. And so I know some guys, they're good at impressioning. They can impression like crazy instead of having all the machines. Sometimes you have to have depth keys, and if you don't have the right machines. So I always tell people, you got to be able to think your way through some of this stuff. And sometimes the obvious is right there. And sometimes you got to kind of walk away and say, wait a minute, let me just think about this for a minute before I go back to that situation. Because just think, most of us, we're in situations that kind of like high pressure, especially if you're at somebody's house and you're trying to get them in. It's late at night. They've been at work all day. They're breathing over your shoulder, and they've been looking at all these movies where they get the guy in 2 seconds. And sometimes it doesn't work like that. So that's kind of my take on it. Anybody online want to share some experiences with that they've had? Because we're just talking about locksmithing in general. We're talking about, you know, what house business, how things are going, that kind of thing.
You mentioned about patience. The best people to have patience are doctors.
That's a good one. Anybody else want to share anything as far as?
I suggest looking for personality, integrity, honesty. Those traits can't be taught. I can teach anybody how to rekey a lock. I could teach a monkey how to rekey a lock practically, but you can't teach core values.
Can't teach work ethics.
That's right. So you need to find somebody that wants to work. You need to find somebody that's honest. You need to find somebody that's got good ethics. And you got to find somebody that when you're out in the field, you trust to have your back. And that's more important than anything else, than skill set. I've gotten to the point now where I almost really don't even entertain hiring other locksmiths, because they bring bad habits. And then it's harder to break bad habits and teach new ones than it is to just teach new ones. If I got to teach it, I'd rather just teach the new habit rather than break one down and then restart over from the beginning and chance having that habit come back and rear its head later. So just food for thought from my point of view. Go out there and hire, some ex-military, law enforcement people. Like these guys want work, and they're loyal and dedicated. Josh, who's here, is one of my employees, best tech we've ever had, a year running now. So look down those avenues. Don't just look in the same spots that you've been looking before. Look down those avenues.
That's a very good point, because a lot of guys, they're so concerned about finishing a job, but they don't understand that you have to go through a process. It's kind of like, I had one guy I was trying to hire on, but he could not get the concept of do it right the first time instead of trying to rush through it to get to the next job. I'm like, you know what, if you got to take a little longer, take a little longer. But I always say you got to do it right the first time, even if it takes you a little longer, because you don't want that call 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, I'm locked out of my house. You just put this lock on my door, that kind of thing. But you're right, Wayne, integrity, those kind of things, you just can't teach them. I mean, and most of the time they stick out like a sore thumb. All you got to do is take a couple of guys on a few jobs and see how they work and say, I can't hire that guy again. I've even had where I've had to subcontract some jobs where I had to go back and do the job right because they didn't do it right. And so I try not to subcontract that much, but I usually want to see their work. I want to go and say, let me see a job that you've done and talk to that person who they've done the job for. And then I kind of go from there.
It's the old adage, why is it there's never enough time to do the job right, but always enough time to go back and do it again?
Yes, great point. Great point, Harvey. Yes. Anyone else want to share some experiences or how they've done things?
I mean, I've been doing this as an employee for 5 years, and we hired somebody recently who came from a totally different career field like me, although I had a lot of hands-on and mechanical knowledge. So it's kind of cool because now I sort of get to help train him, and everybody is teaching him different stuff. But he's actually been in the field probably more than me. So he's also 10 years younger and doesn't have a back that hurts all the time. So he can, the boss was like, I hope you're not mad that I sent him out, to help on a ladder. I'm like, no, I'll stay here, but I think, somebody that can relate with people, that has those, people skills, he's better at dealing with some of the difficult people than I am, because you've been doing it for 5.5 years and you get annoyed. And, so things like that, like you said, you can teach the technical stuff, but if they can deal with the customers and, make people feel good, that's better in a way. We can show him how to use tools the right way if he doesn't know how, but the soft skills, and when I worked in IT, my boss, who I didn't like, the one thing that he always, impressed upon us is that, we're supposed to be in customer service first. Our customers are internal, but we're still in customer service and we have to take care of them. So that's important, I think.
That's a very good point, because when I started this industry, they didn't have all this social media out there now. And as you know, one bad review can really destroy your business. And many times you got to try to go back and try to fix it. But those that know you know that sometimes people put a bad review because they're your competition or because they just don't like you. I don't care how nice you are, somebody's not going to like you. But we have to be very careful as locksmiths to show that integrity, to make sure that we're doing it right the first time. Because like I said, we're in this social media age where people put stuff out and then all of a sudden your name becomes mud and you're wondering why my phone's not ringing. But I just tell anybody, when people know you, they know the history, they know what you're about, then you usually don't have that problem. But it's a different age now.
Right, and part of it is, the shop that I work at has been around for almost 60 years. So they've got a good, they have a good location and a good reputation, and people, they don't really have to advertise. People come in but if you, and I should say, people come in and they will refer you to their friends. But if they don't like it, they will talk just as much. If somebody has a bad, we've all had bad situations with suppliers, and we certainly tell other locksmiths about it. So I'm sure, it's the same way with, with us. If somebody doesn't like a locksmith, they're going to tell their friends Don't call that guy.
Social media is the new word of mouth. It's just gotten a lot bigger and a lot louder.
Yes. Well, Wayne, I'm sure you could tell us a lot about that. Have you had any bad experiences where you had to kind of deal with it?
I had one just the other day, actually. If you'd like a story, a fun little
Go
story.
right ahead. Go right ahead.
So I had this lady call, and actually she called Josh first, and he's like, "You need to deal with this lady. She's insane." If that kind of sets the precedence of the conversation here. Apparently 6 years ago, one of my techs went out and rekeyed a lock for this lady. And she called at about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And somehow my phone wasn't ringing and Josh had his phone off, and calls just weren't getting through. It was just one of those nights he had a day, we just weren't running after hours calls that night. We try and help people after hours, but there's some nights where neither one of us can get to it. And so she calls hysterical. I mean, crying, yelling, screaming on the phone about how she locked her dog in her bedroom and could not access the animal. And I said, "Oh, okay, that's fine. But how did this impact you? What exactly happened here?" And she said that I owed her a new door and a new lock because she called the police department and they ended up breaking the door down to get to her dog. Now, mind you, the lady is in her home. She's in her dwelling. She's safe. She's warm. The dog is in the home, safe, warm, etc. It's not 30 below out. It's not wintertime. She was just separated from her dog for a couple hours, and it sent this woman into a hysterical panic to the point where she felt she needed to call the next day. And to the point even further, it escalated to the point where she told me if I did not buy her a new door and replace her lock, that she was going to talk to her friend at the local newspaper. And she said, unless you want your business blasted on the front page of the local newspaper, you need to do XYZ. Now, anybody that knows me that I will give you the shirt off of my back. I will help anybody in a pinch. I will do anything to help people out. However, if you threaten me and you threaten the livelihood that I provide and the thing that puts food on the table for my family, Mama and Papa Bear is going to come out with a vengeance. So being a business owner, this is where more patience comes into play. I never got hostile with her. I never used any kind of profanity whatsoever. I also record all of my phone conversations. And in Colorado, it's a single consent. So I now have this entire phone conversation of this insane person on the other line, all recorded and documented. And I simply told her, because I've gone through things like this before with bad reviews online, and what can we actually do about it? What can we do it as the business owner and protect ourselves legally? And what can we do about it as the individual reviewing another business and protect ourselves legally? And what it boils down to, and this is not legal advice, this is just what I found out through my attorneys, is that you cannot post false reviews online. If you post something negative, it has to have been true, and you have to prove that it was true. So what this lady's story was is that one of my technicians 6 years ago rekeyed one of her locks, and now she's trying it for the first time ever, and it did not work. And because she was away from her animal for a couple of hours and her door needed to be destroyed, that she called to have destroyed, this was all my fault. So I explained to her very calmly, this is not my fault. If there was something that happened, I apologize for that. However, equipment could break. There's so many things that happen. It's far out of warranty by now. We offer 90-day warranty, so it's far out of warranty by now. And it is also company policy that the customer actually tries and uses the lock and key before we leave. That's a really good thing to start implementing if you're not doing so. And I said, because this is company policy, either the company violated company policy, which again, it's not my fault, or they did protocol and it was working, and it's again, not my fault. Probably what happened is they got a bunch of keys made at Ace or whatever hardware store, and they didn't work at the time she needed them to work. That would be my best guess. But she was too hysterical to even get to that point to have a picture of the key or whatever. So I ended up telling her, I said, well, I've actually done a bunch of research on this, and defamation of character will, that could be a reverse lawsuit. I could countersue you for that. So just so you know, I'm going to go ahead and forward this phone conversation that has been recorded. You have been recorded this entire time. It is single person consent, single party consent in the state of Colorado. You can look that up if you would like. I'm sending all this to my attorney right now, along with a statement that I'm about to make. And if anything shows up in the papers or online or reviews or on anything from my business, I will 1000% be suing you for defamation of character. Even if I lose money doing so, it's about the principle. I am prepared to do that and die on this hill. So thank you for your time, Flick. That is one of the situations that can happen out there. And, it's a shame that it happened. I feel sorry for her. I'm sorry that her dog was, locked away from her for a little bit, but there was no lives in danger. She was not locked outside. She called law enforcement to break her door down, not anybody else. And it's an unfortunate thing that can happen. So just throw that out there for other business owners. You do have rights. You should learn your rights. You should talk to your attorney, and you should know what rights you have, both on online reviews and customer harassment from third-party associations such as newspapers or other media outlets. Knowledge is power, and knowledge is potential power. You need to actually go ahead and put forth the effort to understand your local laws and your local state laws to know where you stand. So when you do have the crazy person call you saying that they owe you a door and a lock and pain and distress and all of these other things, that you can stand up for yourself, your family, and your business.
Thank you for sharing, Wayne. That was a very good story, because a lot of us probably would never experience that. But if we do, we now know how to handle it. Because many times, like you said, when they start messing with your money, your family, your livelihood, the pit bull comes out. I mean, because a lot of us, we do this for a living. And if we don't do this, what else are we going to do? And when people come to you and they intentionally try to destroy your character, we have to know our rights. We have to know what to do in those situations, because it could have escalated where Wayne could have went off on the lady and said, hey, you such and such and such and such, don't ever call me, hung up on her. And, because sometimes we go there, especially after a bad day. Some days we call the Murphy's Law day. You get up and everything goes wrong. And then this lady calls you and then she wants to do this. So it's best to try to keep a cool head if possible. If you need to run around the block, take a shower, go get a massage, whatever you need to do to stay calm. Because we're in an age now where people will go off on you in a minute. And next minute, you're almost ready to argue with the person, or it could turn out to something physical. So these are very good conversations, I believe, all of those that are in business, just even dealing with your neighbors sometimes in the neighborhood. Don't step past my fence, don't crow, you got to learn how to deal with these. And that's where I think as locksmiths, people skills come in very handy. So when we're hiring people, we look for those things. And one of the things I always do when I go on a job, whether it's commercial, residential, whatever, I always say, now the lock worked for me. Here's the key. I want to see if it works for you. And so I just do it like that to kind of play the game. So I make sure that they will actually try the key, make sure it's working. And then a lot of times I'll sit there and I'll record it, or I'll put a thing and show them, or either if they're not there, I will actually record me turning the key and it working and sending them a video. And that's the thing I do like about technology now. You can record a lot of this stuff. You have it documented. And if there's any problems in the past, for all of us who've been to court, they want to see evidence. But here's the evidence. I filmed when I stuck the key in there, it worked, it turned. I pulled the key out, they did it, it worked, it turned. End of story. So evidence is very important. Anybody else want to share some things online or here? Who is that? I see Logan's here. Logan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How's school coming along?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
You
It's
learn a
getting
lot of
towards the end of the year, finally.
okay. Are you learning a lot of new stuff?
Yes.
You want to share something about anything as far as locksmithing, or you kind of put that on the back burner for a little bit?
I've kind of put that on the back burner. I more get into it during the summer, so I'll have more updates in September, probably.
Okay, well, we haven't forgotten about you. I know you're a busy young man. So are you, what are you, 13 now? 14?
12
I'm putting you way ahead. So your birthday is this year or is already gone?
this year. I have a birthday
Okay.
in July.
Okay, so I knew you was almost 13. I knew it. Well, it's always good talking to you, Logan. Any way we can
talking
help
to
you,
you
let us
too.
know.
Okay.
Yes. All right, thank you. Yes, I think it's been a great meeting and we talked about a lot of things. Anything else anybody want to share before we close out? I know it's 8:30 here in Michigan. I think Colorado, what is it in Colorado? Wayne,
6:30.
like 2 hours? 6:30?
Yep.
And
So it's almost
5:30
dinner
here.
time. It's almost dinner time for you, isn't it?
Just about. I also wanted to agree with you that anytime, that is an absolute epic point to make, is anytime you offer service to a customer who is not willing to be home or not able to be home, making sure that you document it before. I'll actually document it. I use the documentation because I use it for content to give back to Aloha, Locksmith Ledger, LSA, and all the associations. I just enjoy doing it. But if you come up to a home, I'll actually document, all right, here's how the lock is broken. Okay, and here's what it's doing when we started, XYZ, and then here's how we're doing it after the fact. Now, here's a really cool little tip. If you use a company like Google, or if you use an app like Google Photos, you can actually send a link with a longer video and a more high quality video than you can over text. One of the problems with text message is it degrades the video to the point where you could barely even see it. And you've got to keep it under 1 minute. One hack for that, or one way around that, is you can send it on Messenger if they use Facebook or Messenger of any kind. The other way is to automatically have all of your photos and videos backed up to a cloud-based system called Google Photos, Dropbox, whatever cloud-based system you like. And then when you're done with it, you can actually just copy a link and send that to them. Maybe you need to send a 3 or 5 or 10-minute video to them. You can go ahead and do that. And then now that has a time and date and GPS location stamp on it. Those are all golden when it comes to court. Every single job I do as though I have to defend myself in court, because you might actually have to do so.
Well, Wayne, the meeting was worth it just by that information, because a lot of times when I do send a text message, it's very short or it's kind of skimmed down. But I'm glad you mentioned that. So I don't know if you can do a short video on that to kind of show us guys that maybe not up to the technique stuff. But yeah, I think that's a great point, that many times if you can't send a text message that's kind of sketchy, you can do it through Dropbox or Google Photos or some other avenue.
Correct.
Wow, very good. Anybody else have anything they want to comment, concerns, anything on your mind is burning, any questions? Sounds like we covered a lot of ground, huh? John, did you have any final thoughts? John is really quiet tonight, Wayne. He's never been this quiet. He must be exhausted.
I didn't hear any thoughts from John.
Yeah, he probably got up at 6 a.m. this morning. He's probably been up north, Mackinac Island. I don't know where he's been. He looks exhausted, so I think he's like, it's time to wrap it up. But
Are you
I
giving
appreciate
anything
all you
away?
guys.
Are you giving anything away today?
You know, they've got a few things up here on the table, but I don't think it's any major giveaways. Any major giveaways?
That's the
So
important part.
IDN has some promotions here. If you want to mention it, or you want to. Okay, I'm gonna bring the mic over to Keith. So some promotions. This is through IDN. You want to mention those promotions?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, let me just grab them out. Yeah, pretty much, we got something going on with Master Lock and American Lock. Whereas, you know, if you spend X amount of dollars, you know, get, you know, some kind of like what is it, a gift card?
Okay.
So, yeah, there's various ones. There's three of them.
Gift card.
Yep, and then we got one with a
I think it's on the
Legion.
Website.
I don't know if it's, I don't think it's on the website right now.
Okay.
I've looked at the website, I haven't seen it, but I do know about the, Elko. We got Elko, promotion, a Legion promotion, and Master Lock and American Lock promotions that I can hand out to everybody,
Okay.
along with my
Yeah,
business
they
card.
have a few promotions, so if you want to get with your ID and rep, they can tell you about some of the Master Lock promotions, I guess it's Allegiant promotions, and what else we have here?
And Elko,
And Ilco.
yeah,
So if you buy so much, you get gift cards and extra stuff, so great, that's good stuff.
so yeah, that's fine.
Or anything else? Did we cover everything? Everybody seems like they're exhausted. I think the 80 degrees is getting to them. You know, that's like really, really summertime here in Michigan. All right, well, we had a good meeting. At this time, we're going to adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, guys, we'll see you next month, and we're going to do I believe we're going to do a swap meeting in the parking lot. So part of the meeting is going to be in the parking lot. The other part's going to be here at the Troy Center, the community center. So the swap meet is probably gonna be real short, but I'm trying to have it where if you guys see something that you want, maybe we can ship it to whatever location you are at, because there's a few locksmiths that have retired and they've got some really good equipment. They've been sending me emails and messages. So I told them I'm trying to get it where we can either have it like showcase where you can maybe purchase it and have it shipped, whether it be a key machine or a code machine or a blue punch or whatever you may need at a really good price. So that's next month. And just to whet your appetite, so June is going to be our last meeting until September. So September, what I want to do, and I think John's probably just hearing about this, so this is new. I want to do what I call a leashy party. So we're going to do everything leashy in September if we can. We're going to have some things set up here, some online demonstrations. And Wayne, I may need your help on some of the videos too, as far as we're going to have what I call a leashy party. We're going to do everything from automotive leashy to residential leashy and anything leashy. How does that sound, Wayne?
You might be able to sweet talk me to come on out there and be in person, maybe.
Wow. Okay. We're going to work on that. You can come to Michigan. It probably won't be 80 degrees in September, but it won't be 20 degrees, but you're in Colorado, so you're used to the up and down weather. I know my brother stayed in Aurora, Colorado forever. Now he moved to New Jersey. His taxes are 3 times what he paid for in Colorado. So I know about Colorado. I've been there before. So it'll be warmer than Colorado.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks for being here and have a good night. And we'll see you at the next meeting.
See
Good
ya.
night, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Good night.